I'm ecstatic to see you all. This is amazing. Thank you all for coming tonight and spending your time with us for this event. I'm getting to that. I wanted to express some gratitude first. My name's Trevor Twining. I am the president of Co-work Niagara and the founder of Niagara Podcasters Network, and I'm the moderator of this Meet the Candidates night. This is a chance for you to learn a little bit about the large number of candidates that we have here in St. Catharines who are running for regional councillor for the regional municipality of Niagara. And the format of the event, we'll get into that in a minute. I just want to thank all the candidates who agreed to participate and show up tonight. This is how democracies work and work effectively. And to all of you, participating as a citizen is the price of a healthy democracy. And so for you to come and participate and listen, this is how the process works, and this is how we get good government, not only in Niagara, but in Ontario and in Canada. So more of this is what's needed. So thank you very much for taking it seriously. Thanks. We have, as you can see, a large number of candidates to get through. So the format is going to be very precise. Tonight we're going to be doing brief introductions. They were submitted by each candidate. They're about 35 words in length. Then each candidate will deliver a 2-minute speech outlining all the details of their platform. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But they're going to give you a sense of direction, a sense of where they want to go, how they want to prioritize, where they want to focus, those sorts of things. Once we're done that, we are going to be pulling questions at random from a list of questions that were developed prior to the event. And then once we're done that, we are going to be picking 3 questions from, and those will be delivered at random from those questions that were submitted by the participants here today. So before we go any further, I want to give the land acknowledgement. All of us who are gathered here acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people who, with the neutrals, have cared for this land since time immemorial. All of us who live on the shared territory are treaty people. We are governed first by the one dish with one spoon treaty that acknowledges this land is rich with resources and that there is enough for everyone. Once we have taken what we need from the dish, we are to return the spoon for the individuals, families, and generations to follow us. It is with this respect and understanding that our tasks today are undertaken. The last thing I want to do before we start is thank the folks at WeeStream. Kevin Jack is here from WeeStream, and they're live streaming the event. So for folks in the back who possibly can't hear me, I don't know, you can go to WeeStream.com and or share that online. The more people that we can get listening to this conversation, the better. So if you can share with your friends and family. Also, Niagara Podcasters is recording the event, and we will be distributing the audio portion of the proceedings as a podcast that you can listen to after the event. So, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but the stream is available after the event as well.
It'll be archived as soon as you
Excellent. Just not while driving, that's correct. All right, so there is one more announcement that I was asked to make, and I received basically an announcement here that there is a event called Celebrate Taking Time to Show Kindness. It's a Good Neighbors Week finale, and it's Sunday, October 21st from 2 to 4 p.m. at Westminster Church Hall, beside the former St. Catharines General Hospital. You're voting for informed to hear municipal, regional, and school board candidates state how they would plan to better our area. So it sounds like this is another event if you want to hear about your candidates. I'm sorry? Oh yeah, one more housekeeping thing. Turn your cell phones off, just like at the movies. And there's a request to sign a petition here for the NRP to get publicized enforcement and talk about the dangers of sidewalk bike riding. So it sounds like if you want to get more involved, in issues that affect the local area, this is the event to do it, and that is October 21st, 2 to 4 p.m., and that's at Westminster Church Hall, which is just down the street on Queenston at the General Hospital, former General Hospital. So I'm going to be, one of my primary responsibilities is keeping time, so I'm also going to do that for myself. Without further ado, we will get into the introductions, and I'm going to start with the list that I was given first, and then any addendums to the list, of which there were just a few. So we'll start with Haley Bateman. Haley Bateman is a mother of three, a graduate of Brock, Niagara College, and McMaster University. She is the chair of the Property Standards Committee of St. Catharines, and volunteers for Wellspring on their Capital Campaign Committee. Next, we have Sandie Bellows. Sandie Bellows is a longtime victims' rights advocate, mother of two, neighbor, and community volunteer supporting victims, sports teams, and our local Grape and Wine Festival. Sandie has served the last 4 years as a Grantham Ward City Councillor. Rob Depetris was born and raised in St. Catharines. He is a graduate of Meryton, Brock, and the University of Toronto Law School. He has been a tax specialist and lawyer for over 25 years and is heavily involved in the community. Kelly Edgar has lived in Niagara all his life and in St. Catharines for 62 of those years. He's married to Darlene and is serving his first term as regional councillor. Mark Elliott was born in St. Catharines and educated at York University with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. He has over 30 years of business management experience, is a 3-term city councillor for Ward 4, considered a prime architect of downtown revitalization, advocate for urban forestry, accessibility, active transportation, sustainability, arts, and culture. Brian Heit has 40 successful years in business, has served both levels of local government, is proud of his voting record. He has experience on all major committees. His focus remains with finance and budgeting. Brian demonstrates honesty, integrity, and independence. Laura Yip is a lifelong resident of Niagara with a lengthy record of community involvement who has worked in public, private, and nonprofit sector roles. She has worked in municipal government and been a city councillor. Debbie MacGregor is a current member of Regional Council. And that's all there is here. Mary Margaret Murphy is a business leader in the community, involved in numerous events and boards, a proud Rotarian and mentor to new immigrants. She moved to Niagara 15 years ago with her son and considers Niagara home. Tim Rigby is a current member of Regional Council and former mayor of St. Catharines. Frank Rupcic is excited about this election and bringing change. He knows Niagara. As general manager of Venture Niagara for 20 years, He works with new and expanding businesses to create and maintain local jobs every day. Emily Beth Spanton is an addictions counselor, community advocate, and environmental activist who brings tenacity to the table and a desire to make Niagara a better place to live, work, and play. Len Stack has been a resident of St. Catharines since 1971, a graduate of Brock University with a BA and a Master's of Education. He is a retired teacher administrator who served 2 terms as city councilor. Married with 2 children, he is running to restore integrity and transparency to the region. Bruce Timms is a current member of Regional Council, member of the board of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, and one of its former chairs. Okay, we won't do that tonight, please. Next, Jim Bradley, a member of St. Catharines City Council, 1970 to 1977, and member of Provincial Parliament for St. Catharines from 1977 to 2018. He served as, no, that's okay, go ahead. He served as Provincial Minister of Environment, Tourism and Recreation, Transportation, Municipal Affairs and Housing, Community Safety and Correctional Services, Seniors Chair of Cabinet, Seniors, Chair of Cabinet, and Government House Leader and Chief Government Whip. Thank you for filling the dead air. And last but not least is Mike Britton, is a city councilor and property manager. His formal community involvement includes Crime Stoppers Niagara, as a board member, Habitat for Humanity volunteer, Junior Chamber International Director, Niagara Royal Canadian Naval Association member, and more. And that is all of the introductions. Thank you all very much for coming tonight. I believe we will do the speeches in the same order. And so first up is Haley Bateman.
I feel sorry for everyone who has to follow this. Okay. There we go. We need to warm it up a bit. Okay. So my name is Haley Bateman. I'm 39 years old. I'm a mother of 3 very young children with my partner Stephanie, and the daughter of retired parents, and the sister of an emergency services worker. I was born and raised in Niagara, and I am the graduate of Brock University, Niagara College, and McMaster University. I would like to address the care for infants and seniors, both of which our regional government is responsible for. In July of this year, I was forced to quit my full-time permanent job because we could not find childcare for our 3 children. No parent should be forced to make that decision, and I will work to ensure that parents are given options for care that support their family's needs. Long-term care for seniors is very similar. So my plan is to combine these 2 services using one facility at every long-term care site. Services would remain separate. However, interaction between seniors and infants would be encouraged and part of programming. I will work tirelessly to ensure that I accomplish something every day to improve our region. I will bring the right people to the table to ensure that I have the information that we need prior to making any decision, because our decisions impact your life. I will approach my appointment as regional councillor as I ran my campaign with humility, trust, integrity, innovation, energy, and a work ethic that is unmatched. I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to representing our home St. Catharines as a regional councillor.
Next is Sandie Bellows.
Sorry, Jim. Hi, everybody. I'm Sandie Bellows. As your city councillor for Grantham Ward and the city, I spent the last 4 years listening to you, the residents of St. Catharines. And you've told me that you want a regional council that's accountable to you, who will work hard for you and respect your tax dollars. You want the region to invest in solutions that work for you, your friends, neighbors, because community comes first. I've heard you, St. Catharines. I would like to ensure that as a regional councillor, that whatever we do makes a difference. I've had to make some hard decisions at council, and I stood by them. I'm not afraid to make those decisions. That means I'll take a leadership role, and I will support investing in programs that have that service the needs of the most vulnerable in our community, seniors and those less fortunate. Affordable housing is right up there on my list as well. I think we've really got to look at partnerships with outside communities, with outside businesses to provide this affordable housing. I'm proud of my record that I've had at City Councillor. I've been there, I've made the hard decisions, and I've stuck with them, and I'm a very hands-on City Councillor, and that's what I plan to bring to the region, hands-on. I will not back down. You can count on me. Thank you.
Next is Rob Depetris.
I want to thank the organizers of tonight's meeting, and I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm running to bring back honesty, accountability, and common sense to our regional council. It's time to clean house. We need to remove all of the patronage and unqualified people hired by our past council. We need to hire only qualified, nonpartisan professionals on merit. I will never be party to any backroom deals. I will fight to remove party politics from local politics. We do not need conservative, liberals, or NDP party bosses telling us how to run this region. We need independent-minded people who are going to listen to the residents and do what's best for the residents. We need to work together. I will fight to bring in term limits for regional councillors. I'm tired of looking at the same people year in and year out and what's changed. But above all that, like what I'm saying, I can't believe what I just said I have to say. That's table stakes. Everybody should be saying what I just said. On top of that, Niagara Region's budget this year is $1.1 billion. We need to hire and appoint qualified, experienced people to deal with this. We need to bring more jobs back to Niagara by looking at how do we fix our businesses and how do we help them. We need to build more affordable housing. We need to figure out a way to fight poverty. But all that, I will use my accounting and legal skills.
Thank you, Rob.
Oh. Thank you, and vote for me and check out my website. Thank you.
Next is Kelly Edgar.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. And as I'm sure you all know, or most of you should know, I am one of 6 councillors currently representing you, the people of St. Catharines, at Niagara Regional Council. It's obviously no secret that these last 4 years of Regional Council have been filled with controversy, in spite of the fact that we did really get some good work done. Bringing the 2021 Canada Summer Games to Niagara and a promise of regularly scheduled GO train service come easily to mind. But much of the good that has been accomplished has been mostly overshadowed by some of the questionable decisions, bad councillor behavior, and obvious divisiveness of this council. There is much work that needs to be done for the betterment of Niagara Region, and here's how you can help. I don't believe that the Niagara Region will be well served by people simply going to the polls with the intent of voting only for new candidates. Having said that, I also believe that there are incumbent candidates that probably don't deserve your support. Don't just check a name because it sounds familiar to you, and don't just replace the current bad actors with new ones who will still answer to the same old political masters. Find out who your candidates really are. Talk to them. Find out if their opinions match yours on various issues. Find out if you think you can trust them. Do they have integrity? Check out their voting records. Incumbents should be proud of their records, and I know I'm certainly very proud of mine. Your candidates should be running for this position for the betterment of Niagara Region, not for their own personal betterment, nor that of their friends. I've learned a lot. During my time on council, but most of what I've learned is that nothing you do matters unless you do it with honesty and integrity. both of which have been sadly lacking at times on this current regional council. We need to change that, and we can, but it'll be up to you, the voter in St. Catharines, to take action to see that it is done. Fill the council seats for St. Catharines with
Thank you,
people
Kelly.
who feel, as I do,
Thank you,
that
Kelly.
issues change.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
We are basically 40 minutes with each segment, so I have to be like really brutal on the time. So I'm sorry.
I gave up a lot on the introduction, so because a lot of people use more than 35 words. I used and you didn't care about that when you read them out.
That's true.
Let's move on.
All right.
That's true.
Next is, where'd my sheet go? There we go. Mark Elliott.
Thank you, and it's really great to see everybody out here tonight. What a great crowd. Wish the venue was a little bit larger for the people at the back, so that you would have a place to sit and be comfortable as well. Many of you will know me. I've been on council now for city council for 3 terms. Councillor for the downtown, and have been heavily involved in the revitalization there, as well as I was the lead on the development and design and construction of the first Ontario Performing Arts Centre. The biggest issue, and you're going to hear a lot about integrity tonight, I think every councillor up here believes there's a need for integrity and transparency at the region, and so I'm not going to go on about that. I certainly believe that I've acted over the past 12 years with integrity and transparency, and I'll stand by my record on that as well. But what I want to talk about is affordable housing, because there's a housing crisis in this city. And affordable housing isn't just subsidized housing that we do at the region, it's also developing and constructing housing for seniors and housing for first-time home buyers. And as we see the development industry in our community, we're seeing them build these large, massive homes or townhomes that are as big or bigger than the homes that people are trying to downsize out of, and certainly beyond. And they're building for a market that isn't Niagara, they're building for a market that's GTHA. So we need to develop policies and plans that actually set the framework for building affordable housing. And you know, we need to look at planning policy and zoning. And maybe we need to change from our current traditional zoning to doing form-based zoning or something like that, where we start building what's called the missing middle of housing. So those are smaller units that actually fit into traditional neighborhoods. So one of the issues we're seeing, for example, in North End, they're severing off lots and building big, massive homes on them, squeezing them into these tiny lots. But we could do this missing
Thanks,
middle.
Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Brian Heit.
Hello. You must consider the following decisions in this coming election. Who has integrity? Who has shown that they're dedicated? Who's been accountable to you? Who believes in openness and transparency? Who will ask the tough questions, and who will speak out for what's right? I know my record speaks for itself, and it's included in my literature and online. But who has the experience and courage to make the tough decisions that the next council is going to have to make? First, they have to choose a new chair, appoint committee chairs and vice chairs, select qualified people to sit on their boards and commissions, act on the ombudsman report when it comes forward, restore the public trust in regional government, which may include replacing some of the current staff, integrating regional housing as part of social services, supporting prosperity initiatives and affordable housing, deal with a new waste management contract, invest in our billion-dollar aging infrastructure, ensure a positive climate is to encourage economic growth in Niagara, complete the negotiations for a regional integrated municipal transit system, explore a new service delivery model for long-term care, have open discussions on governance, and keep taxes as low as possible, below current living index, the cost of living. All this and more is going to be required of the new council in the next 12 months. I have the experience to do the job. I have the courage to right what's wrong. On election day, vote for Brian Heit. That is the right vote for Brian Heit. I hope for your support. Thank you.
Next is Laura Yip.
Thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak to you tonight and to take your questions. When we were invited to this forum, we were asked to speak specifically to one point in our platform, and I'm going to speak to integrity. I was a St. Catharines City Councillor, and I've run for City Council 3 times. While other candidates in those elections have campaigned on integrity, I never did, because I didn't feel like we should be rah-rah integrity. Integrity should be a given, not just a unique character trait. This time, integrity is at the top of my platform because we've been shown it's not a given. With the mess we're in at the region, the Police Services Board, and especially the NPCA, we have unfortunately seen what happens to local government when many of the people at those tables don't have integrity. Make no mistake, these things didn't happen overnight. This is a years-long endeavor because people got comfortable and complacent. The quickest way to restore integrity at Regional Council is to adopt a culture of open communication. When we are communicating with the citizens of Niagara, they can hold us to account. The media is not our enemy if we're doing what we're expected to be doing, what we're elected to do. We need a council that will work to improve our transit system, increase our stock of affordable housing, and spend taxpayer dollars efficiently, whether it's on $50 million projects or how they claim their expenses. We need a council that prioritizes and understands the needs for seniors and children's services, waste management, road maintenance, and good management of the many other essential services they deliver. We need a council that cares about you, that makes decisions in the best interests of all of the citizens of Niagara, and does it all with integrity. On Monday, October 22nd, vote to reset the region.
Next is Debbie MacGregor.
Hello, thank you to the organizers tonight, and thank you all for coming. My name is Debbie MacGregor. I've been a very proud citizen of St. Catharines all of my life. I love the whole Niagara region. I've worked for Britton Printing for 36 years, believe it or not. I live on Lake Street with my 14-year-old daughter, and I want her friends, and kids I don't even know to be able to have the opportunities to stay or come back to Niagara. I have been honored to represent you all since being elected last term. Public trust has been eroded significantly over the last 4 years. My immediate priority would be to restore the confidence and trust of the citizens of Niagara region and represent your interests. I want to look for workable economic solutions to the crisis in mental health, homelessness, affordable housing, sustainable employment, while attracting industries compatible with the identity of our region with respect to our unique position with the Greenbelt. I promise to continue to vote with my heart, as I have for the past 4 years, while listening to you, the citizens, and what you want and expect. I also have some leaf bags in my car, if anybody wants some, and some of them glow in the dark. Please vote on October 22nd or before. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everyone to vote. Thank you.
Next is Mary Margaret Murphy.
Good evening. I want to talk about poverty here in Niagara, but before I do, I want to expand a little bit on my bio. So I worked as a job developer with the Business Education Council. We were an Employment Ontario service provider, so not only did we help people find jobs, but we also worked with businesses to help them offset the cost of onboarding a new employee. When the Business Education Council closed, I went to work for Linking Niagara. another project that was geared to help businesses connect to funds and programs that were available to them when they wanted to hire or train staff. Both organizations were funded by the government. 2017, it was identified that a living wage here in Niagara was $17.57 an hour. So a living wage covers rent, food, basic necessities for a family of 4, parents and 2 kids. If we can provide funding to onboard new employees, then we certainly can find a way to help offset the cost for businesses in Niagara to offer a living wage. Having a living wage will definitely address the poverty issue that we have here in Niagara. So on October 27, let's make municipalities matter and vote for Mayor Margaret Murphy. Thank you.
Next is Tim Rigby.
Thank you very much. I just realized I'm 39 years older than Haley. Anyway, I had a speech that I had written, and I wanted to talk to you about all the things that I have done and accomplished and so on. Rather than doing that, I want to tell you why I'm running. You can look up on my website. It's timrigby.ca. Tells you everything that I've done in my past, and not the bad things, okay? Just the good things. And but the rest is all there. 4 years ago, in the election, I won. In fact, I topped the polls for the region council. When that election was over, I said to my very good friends and people, that's it. I'm done. We're not running again. Throw out the signs, get rid of all the pamphlets, everything else, because I'm not running again. And I proceeded to go through the first 6 or 7 months of the region thinking that we were on the track going the right way. But very soon it became very evident that things were not right. And we were being disregarded as a council. The integrity of the senior management and so on was changing. The leadership was terrible. It was bullying. And it was an area where this region was really going the wrong way in a hurry. And we started to hear from people from outside, members of public talking to us, what are you going to do about Niagara Conservation Authority? What are you going to do about any other number of things that are going on? In the past year, I came to realize that I needed to stay in this, and I wanted to make sure that you know that I am going to do everything in my power, and the power of the representatives who were elected to get that changed and deal with the issues that are in front of us. There are
Thanks, Tim.
a few of us, thank you, that are trying. Thank you very much.
Next is Frank Rupcic.
Good evening. This is a really great night, and it's part of a wonderful journey that I've chosen to run for council. After 2 months of campaigning and speaking with people throughout St. Catharines, the message is clear. We need to change regional council. Niagara's reputation has been damaged, too much money has been wasted in too many ways, and trust in regional politicians is at an all-time low. It's time to turn the page to a better future. You, the voter, will make this happen. You have a choice of more than 20 candidates, and it's pretty impressive to see this many people here taking an interest in the community. I know you'll choose wisely. Regional councillors need relevant experience, sound judgment, and integrity to do this job. I want to tell you about my experience and my specialty in economic development, a job that's important to our local economy. I have a great career. I've been the general manager for Venture Niagara Community Futures Development Corporation for 20 years. I've earned a good reputation with my board of directors, with government funders that I deal with on a regular basis, and with the businesses and people that I work with every day. I make difficult but good decisions when it's time to invest in people and their businesses. In the past 5 years, I've been responsible for lending more than $5 million to over 100 companies that have helped to create 600 jobs. I think this is a big success for this region. I've also helped to establish a $20 million investment fund for innovative businesses in Southern Ontario. It's now worth more than $25 million, and it too has created hundreds of jobs in the province. I want to bring this expertise to the Niagara region. I know business management, fiscal responsibility, and how to work with people. But I also know there will be times when more information is needed to address the complex issues that come before council. I will actively seek the best information sources available by consulting with the community and the professional staff
Thanks,
that
Frank.
are hired.
Next is Emily Beth Spanton.
Hello, good evening. I don't like giving speeches, so I decided not to give one. I'm just going to talk to you for a few minutes about, well, exactly 2 minutes, about myself and really who I am, so you can understand a little more. Most of the people on this stage already know me because I go to council every meeting. Regional council. For over 2 years, I have been asking questions, filing FOI, Freedom of Information requests. For the last year, I've been writing about all this, everything I've kind of discovered. I've been fighting for accountability at the MPCA. I wrote the original petition on which Cindy Forrester based her motion. I also took the photo of Bill Sawchuk of the Standard being escorted out of the region building, so that's something else, but that's because I was there. The reason I was able to take that photo is because I was there. I have been engaged for over 2 years. I've been asking these questions. And I think that really it's time, that's why I'm running. I kind of decided I had to put my money where my mouth is. I can't just keep asking these questions of people and not being willing to put myself out there and give solutions, not just continue to ask these questions. I'm an addictions counselor. I believe very strongly in harm reduction. We need to be focusing, I agree with the affordable housing, not just affordable housing, but supported housing. There is a difference, and we need both in this region. I believe we need to stop looking at all these social indicators of health, like poverty. I don't like speaking in front of a lot of people. I believe we need to treat public transportation, addictions, mental health, affordable housing with a holistic approach. It needs to be interdisciplinary. We need to actually listen to our staff. We have great staff making great recommendations, like the recent recommendation for a hybrid model on social services and affordable housing. We have people, but we've been politicizing these issues for too long. It's time we actually listen to them. We're in a position in Niagara region
Emily
to
Beth.
lead. Thank you.
Len Stack is next.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming tonight, and thanks the organization for having this event. I cut my speech in half because I'm afraid of getting cut off, so I'm going to go right into it. Being an English teacher, we tend to say too much anyway. One of my many concerns related to the Niagara region is our healthcare system, which emphasizes, with emphasis on mental health and addiction. I hesitate to use the term addiction because of the negative stigma that's attached to that word. Healthcare is a universal concern, and I understand it is a provincial issue. However, as a regional council, we must lobby the provincial and federal governments to continually increase their investments in our healthcare. Mental health has become an increasingly major concern for all citizens. Many people, young and old, suffer from mental disorders such as depression, mood swings, emotional anxiety, and loneliness. In some cases, people, out of desperation, will self-medicate in the hopes of relieving this mental pain, only to be faced with the possibility of developing an addiction. As community leaders, we have a very strong obligation to ensure the people of Niagara receive the best possible health care. Niagara is characterized by a large aging population, and as time passes, it will continue to increase the strain on our health care system. Quality health care requires a serious financial commitment by all levels of government. A state-of-the-art healthcare system serves the needs of all community members. As your regional councillor, I will fight tirelessly to promote and support greater investment in our healthcare system. I will serve as a strong advocate of finding positive and realistic solutions to our substance abuse issues. We need to demonstrate greater understanding and compassion for all those members of our community who are struggling with mental disorders. Like physical illness, mental illness can be treated and cured. We need to work at removing the stigma attached to mental illness by entertaining open dialogue, educating the general public, and supporting those who suffer from mental illness by assuring them that there is help available and it's okay to show some vulnerability. I am knowledgeable, personable, and accountable. I humbly request your support October 22nd. In return, I pledge excellence through service and commitment.
Thanks, Len.
Thank you.
Next is Bruce Timms.
Thank you and good evening. This has been a difficult term and a humbling term, and recognizing what the rulings of the Auditor General had to say about the Conservation Authority. I understand that there's improvements to be made. And my focus has been, over a number of years, is the restructuring of the Niagara region. We were close with the duty option at City Council. We were close with the election opportunity to elect the regional chair at large. Those are the two restructuring aspects of the region that I think will bring the region together much closer as a working team of 12 municipalities on one team. We almost had we brought to regional council twice the option of voting for the regional chair at large. Council said no twice. Premier Wynne said yes. Premier Ford said no. The judge said he doesn't care. So we're back to the same situation this term. And I think everybody across the region, the first thing we will do is bring that motion forward to elect the regional chair at large, because I think there is a broad public consensus on that now. The second item of restructuring was the notion of replacing regional councillors, this position, with a double duty city councillor who sits at both the region and the city, so that the region becomes a collection of city councillors coming together to coordinate the services for all the municipalities across the region. We came close. We came with we had the region said yes, the province said yes, city council at the last vote said no by one vote. So restructuring of the region is my focus for this coming term. I think it will help to solve a lot of our problems. I look forward to the opportunity to serve you once again, and I ask you to have your say on this restructuring issue. Go to my website, brucetimsforregion.com. Take the poll. I know it's not scientific, but it's something to work with as we go to Premier Ford, because we think that he's going to come back with some restructuring. So don't wait for a Ford solution. Let's have a Niagara solution. Thank you.
Next is Jim Bradley.
I've been jotting down, as I was sitting there, some ideas that I think are exceedingly important in this whole debate. The first is that there's a crisis of confidence in the region, and we must have trust restored in the regional government. It sounds trite to say it, but we need openness. We need the media to be able to have access to everything. There are those who say, well, it's awful that we have people leaking things to the news media. Well, you wouldn't have to leak them if everybody was transparent, and you have to ensure that that happens. I ask you to look carefully at campaign financing at the municipal level, where it has the most influence. Ask who is funding the campaigns of various candidates for various offices. Go back in the past and see who financed those campaigns and whether there was any relationship to the decisions that were made. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority I will zero in on, because that was established to protect the environment. Instead, we had a new regime take over at the Conservation Authority, where they fired the environmental people out the door, hired PR people and other people who were pro-development, and that is simply not what we need. when people like Don Alexander, who was sitting in the front row, and Bob Bell, who I talked to a short time ago, were on regional council, there was a consensus that was developed. There was integrity, there was civility. There wasn't one gang that made up their mind ahead of time and then showed up at council giving signals on who's going to vote for what. Take a look as well at the police commission. It's important that that be as independent and impartial as possible. We should not have politicians instructing specifically how civil servants are doing their job. Rob made reference to the fact that you have to have high quality people, not based on whether they ran as a candidate in the past or something of that nature. He was right.
Mike Britton.
Hi, everyone. St. Catharines is my home. I was born and raised here. Actually, 5 generations of my family have lived in the same 2 homes on Carleton Street. We have deep roots in this community, and we are passionate about it. When I came home from university after earning a degree in medical science, I wanted to make a difference in my community, so I ran for city council. And at the age of 24, I became the youngest city councillor in St. Catharines history. Now, over the last 4 years on City Council, I've learned what your priorities are, what the people's priorities are, and I've made them my priorities for this regional council race. And the number one thing I hear is property taxes. High property taxes affects both businesses and people, so I will base all my decisions on keeping property taxes as low as possible. The second thing is improving everyday services. Things like garbage pickup, things like affordable housing, things like childcare and policing. They are lacking in this region, and we could do better and more efficiently. Next is better public engagement. The job of a politician is to represent all of you, to make sure that your voice is heard. So I will continue to run monthly ward meetings, as I have done for the last 3 years, and continue to be at the many events so I can engage with all of you on a day-to-day basis. Now, these 2 minutes are not enough, or they are enough to talk about the kind of issues I want to deal with at the region, things like garbage collection, things like affordable housing, things like taxes and childcare, but it's not enough time to discuss how. So if anyone would like to talk afterwards, I will be here, and I can give both specific and concrete examples of how I've delivered on these priorities at City Council and how I want to deliver on these priorities at Regional Council. You can also check out my website to find out that more if you don't catch me after tonight. So if you like what you hear and you like what you see on the website, I would encourage you to vote for change, vote for something new at the region, vote for Mike Britton on October 22nd. Thank you.
And that concludes the speech round of tonight. We're now going to get into some questions. And yeah, so let's see. I was given the questions earlier. Here they are. We are going to be drawing them from a hat. So, and we're gonna ask these questions in the same order as we've delivered the speeches, but the questions are drawn from a hat, so we won't know what it is until we draw it. And I'm gonna use some of the people in the first row here to actually draw the question. So I'll get the question drawn, then I'll come back up and read it, and then we'll have each person, one person answer the question. No, that's fine. I got it. Thank you. Bernie, you get the first one. go. It's like a Laurel and Hardy skit up here. It's just. All right. Haley Bateman, you have the first question. You have 2 minutes to answer. Or did we agree for one? One. My apologies. I'm sorry. So I need to change the timer. You have 1 minute to answer the question. What concrete activities will you energetically promote in the region, including in its school systems, to eliminate all forms of violence, especially racism, homophobia, gender discrimination, and Islamophobia?
Well, at the beginning when
It's possible, people. Come on.
At the beginning, when I introduced myself, I got a little emotional because I talked about my partner, Stephanie, and our children. First, I'd like to say that this has been the most wonderful experience since May 1st, and even talking to current counselors who've supported me in my run. Anybody who's at all interested, I really encourage you to run for your city or regional government. So, thank you. I have like 10 seconds left, but I did face this at one house. While I was out there, she said she wasn't going to vote for me because she had Christian values. So anyways, I think we have to take back Christianity because that's not a Christian value. But I did go out to schools. Thank you. 10 extra seconds. I did already reach out to guidance counselors just to talk about my experience, and I want to get into schools already and talk to young people about what it means to get involved in civic duty and what it means to how to learn about voting and how to choose candidates when you have 23 people who are very passionate about their community. So I think it's about getting out there. I think it's about engaging residents.
Thank you, Haley. All right, this question is for Sandie Bellows. When running for office as a regional or city candidate, have you ever, whether running for the first time or repeated time, accepted financial support or funding from any known developer as a corporate or an individual donor? These would include owners or operators of development firms like Dan Rosada, York Bancroft Corporation, Fortress Management, Bayview, etc., or from any political parties. Ever.
Hi there, I stand before you, and yes, I have had donations from several developers and family members. That has never swayed my vote one way or the other. I think if anybody looks at my last 4 years, I've never, ever voted party politics. I've always voted with my heart and the common sense from you, the residents. And that's, my record stands by that. And I have not taken union donations either. Thank you.
Well, I got time. I'm up, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Prostitution, discuss.
Wait, are you? Yeah.
Time's up.
I haven't started the clock yet.
I think we need a time limit on the timer.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. So, Rob, what is your plan for attracting well-paying, stable jobs to the region?
Okay, thank you. I think a lot has to do with trying to build on the businesses. Oh.
We're going to pause this for a minute.
We'll start. Well, I think she's okay. Yeah. That's what the guy said. Sorry? Ice packs? Oh, she bumped her head. I know the answer now. Yeah. Simple.
Yeah, that's of course.
All right, Rob. So the question was, what is your plan for attracting well-paying, stable jobs to the region?
So what I was saying was, in business, our economic development department that we have in the Niagara region, what they've been doing over years and years and years, and they've done a lot of good things, don't get me wrong, but they go out at all these places, and we're always trying to get the next GE, which we got in Welland, which was great. What I think they need to do, spend a lot more time on, is how do we grow the businesses that are here? Let's support the people who already like Niagara. Let's not try to get somebody in Japan to figure out how things, why they should build a plant in Niagara all the time. Let's put some money into how do I get that manufacturer who has 10 people working for him up to 20. Those are how we get good paying jobs in Niagara. We need to look at things like Innovate Niagara and other things like that, and we need to go out there and find and support those instead of spending our money on trips to Germany or something to get somebody to come build windmills here. Thanks.
I'm just going to pick them for the sake of expediency. So next we have Kelly Edgar. Kelly, citizens of Niagara now know that the hiring of the chief administrative officer was botched by insider preferences and improper information sharing. We know about these specific issues as a result of leaks that were and are in the public interest. Certain members of council have tried to make the leaks rather than the unethical behavior the leaks revealed as the problem. What kind of whistleblower protections would you, if elected, initiate in the event that a leak was the only way to protect the public from corruption and cronyism? You have 1 minute.
I don't think that it's possible to create whistleblower protection. I don't know what to say about that. I could leak and they can't do anything to me anyways. I could just leak it if I want. All they can do is ostracize me. They can't throw me in jail or anything like that, not that I'm aware of. I just think that what we need is more integrity, and we wouldn't have to worry about leaks. If we had people that were actually doing what they're supposed to do and the way they're supposed to do it, yeah, why would we need to leak things? But that's all I've got to say on that.
And with 10 seconds to spare. Oh, no. All right. This one is for Mark Elliott. Mark, what specifically will you do to eliminate the need for programs like Out of the Cold by 2022?
Wow. Well, certainly, I'm totally in favor of livable wage, but I don't think livable wage is going to resolve those people who are marginalized and suffer from mental health and those type of things. I think there's a need for a shelter, a permanent shelter within the city of St. Catharines and probably in all major municipalities. And I would certainly, as a regional councillor, I'd be happy to work with the region and the city of St. Catharines to develop that as a public entity rather than having not-for-profits, and work with the not-for-profit sector as to how we operate that and so forth. But I think the bricks and mortar it should be the responsibility of the municipality and both municipalities to come up with the funding for that. So certainly, I would be definitely in favor of that.
The next question is for Brian Heit.
I might need Kelly's 10 seconds.
Well, you don't know that yet.
I don't know that.
The matter of building a sensible regional bus transit system is totally within the hands of regional councillors. We can build it this term and it would serve us well. Wherever GO commuter trains come to Niagara, whenever GO commuter trains come to Niagara, the bus system should be in place. What will you do to prioritize the melding of municipal transit systems, all of them with an independent history and culture?
In 1 minute. I sat on St. Catharines Transit, and there is no question that we need one community transit system, an integrated system throughout Niagara to serve all Niagarans. When we started down this road to look at this, we needed to bring the 3 transit commissions together, and when it was discussed to have another level at the region, I was opposed to the idea of having a regional transit system and 3 municipal transit systems. There should be one Niagara, one regional system. We shouldn't have even 12 communities in my mind, but that's another day, another story. But having one transit system, and when we were working on it, I felt it was critical to feed GO so we could keep and have GO in Niagara. And we need to bring GO around the horseshoe, bring it into St. Catharines before we worry about Niagara Falls, and make sure it's here for 2021 for the summer games. That's critical, and it can be done. And the 3 parties, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and Welland, are working with it right now, and hopefully in the next few years you'll see a truly regional municipal system with hubs where
Thanks,
needed.
Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah, you. If
you walk up, it gives you a few seconds. I didn't think of that. Why didn't you tell me while you were up here? Yeah.
Laura, given that we are currently occupying sacred land that was removed from its earliest inhabitants, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples, what will you do to ensure that Regional Council concretely demonstrates that this region of Niagara also belongs to the Indigenous peoples? Will you introduce legislation to ensure that representatives of our Indigenous peoples are appointed to regional councils with the same voting rights as other members of the council, recognizing the already existing rights of the peoples who originally inhabited this region?
Okay, so the question took more than a minute, I'm just going to say.
I want it clear that I did not write the questions.
Again, I mean, these are big questions to answer in 1 minute. Absolutely, I think anyone who knows me knows that I fully support the rights of Indigenous peoples to the land prior to us. We can't pass legislation at regional council, so that's a bit of a problem. We can certainly, with the boards and commissions and agencies that are under our purview, we can be taking steps to ensure that there is proper balanced representation on those boards and agencies. But as far as appointing people to regional council, that's a bigger issue than we can deal with. So I am supportive of, again, Indigenous rights to the land, and I would do what we can within, again, the scope of what we do at regional council. Thank you.
This question is for Debbie MacGregor. The current council raided financial reserves for social housing in order to lobby for the GO train service. The move, as predicted, was partly responsible for driving up housing prices in the region and helped to turn an affordable housing crisis into an affordable housing emergency. What is your plan for addressing the growing problems of housing instability and homelessness across the region?
Okay, that's a really, really hard one. Can I just read it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, first off, I don't remember that we raided reserves for the GO train. Did you just also say that that was not true?
Don't know.
The housing prices are like unreal. I'm not sure how we can change that or affect that. Sorry. I apologize. I really don't know that we actually raided reserves to lobby for the GO train. So I don't know how to answer this question. I apologize.
Mary Margaret Murphy, this one is for you. What political party most aligns with your values as a person and as a political being, both provincially and federally? Yeah. So, I would like to have 5 minutes with the people who created the questions, please, in the side room, if we could.
Right now?
But whoever was vetting them for presenting them tonight, can we? Okay. Why are you so angry, man? All right.
Ask Jim.
Yeah, Jim. That's a good question. Let's get something. Oh, this one's small too.
Next question.
Okay, let's try this again.
What strategies and tools do you believe the region should implement for addressing the opioid crisis across the region?
That's a good question. All right. So we just saw recently where Premier Ford canceled the funding for a safe supervised injection site. And I think that's one of the first priorities that we need here in Niagara, is we need to find a way to have a safe supervised injection site. Thank you.
Mr. Rigby.
want to go to the back question? Because Jim can answer it or I can answer it. Sorry.
It's good, Tim, thanks.
Okay.
Regarding poverty and freedom of movement in Niagara, what workable proposals do you have to make fully available to the carless people of Niagara accessible, inexpensive, frequent transportation?
I think it's the work we're presently doing in recreating an all Niagara transportation system. And within that, we can start to provide passes for people who are identified by the agencies that are in requirement of that, and go forward. We know from a great deal of experience that people in, for an example, Port Colborne could be doing jobs in Niagara Falls, but they can't get there, they don't have a car, and that's why we're now seeing the semblance of that starting to happen. But it is about the transportation master plan that is being worked on by the communities, all of the cities and towns, and the region as well. And the previous question was, it really is about the three major cities that have transit now, and a wonderful work that they are doing along with the assistance of the region.
All right, another novel, this time for Frank Rupcic. I'm gonna read this one first and make sure that. All right. This May, it was revealed that in 2015, some regional councillors, the regional chair, city councillors, and the mayor of St. Catharines signed a memo initiated by former MP Rick Dykstra's office that sought to interfere with the management and editorial direction of the Standard. Many citizens saw this as an attempt by politicians to interfere with press freedom. The signatories include 3 candidates seeking to be elected as regional councillors. They are Alan Caslin, Mike Britton, and Sandie Bellows. What is your stance on this, Frank?
Certainly when I heard that, it was a terrible shame to democracy and to the free press in Niagara. It's awesome that we have the opportunity to be able to report on things, but when our political leaders try to take a stand and say no coverage of what we're doing and to try to cover up stuff ahead of time, it's just embarrassing to Niagara. And I think, unfortunately, that's what led to the situation that we're in. When you're talking about the need for whistleblowers, when you're talking about the need for people to come forward, when you're talking about leaks, when our politicians are trying to stifle the press, these are the actions that we get, and it was a shame that that ever started back in the early part of the term. That's why we are where we're here today.
Emily Beth, Spanton.
Okay, I'm better with questions, so give it to me. I'm ready.
All right, this one's only a novella,
Okay.
but I can actually really easily shorten this one. What steps would you take to reform the NPCA and prevent future issues like what has happened in the last term?
Oh, did they pick me for this one? Because this is kind of exciting. What would I do? Well, I actually believe the public should have some say in how we reform our boards. I think that we need to be changing how we're populating all of our boards. I think we're seeing across the region there are issues with the police services, with the NPCA. It can't just be politicians. We do need a level of accountability for the money that is being spent. This is tax dollars, but we also need people who have some understanding of what they're doing. So how do we balance that? That's a great question. I think it should be 50-50 maybe, but I really think that this should have actually been a referendum question. So I think it's up to us to do what we can to make sure that we are completely scrapping everything that's there. I think a lot of senior management needs to be gone. We need to stop suing people, including former employees. They are the need. They are the reason we need a whistleblower protection. And what I think the question isn't
thanks,
for us.
Emily Beth.
Okay, it's about staff. Let staff talk.
Len Stack. This one's for you.
I was just not wanting to be in your face too much. Okay, that's all. No problem. Thank you. Shoot.
What measures would you recommend to council, or what motions would you bring that would control councillor spending and requests for reimbursement?
What a great question. Personally, I feel that when we decide to get involved in politics, there is a salary attached to it, whether it's local municipal politics or it's regional, and I think that salary should address any extra expenses that the individual might have. Remember, we decide to run in this election. We decide we want to serve the community, and I really don't like when we have members representing us that don't walk across the street without putting in an expense form. That's totally unnecessary. Thank you.
Bruce Timms. Bruce, what approach will you take to committee appointments, including NPCA, housing, policing, etc.? What percentage should be citizens?
Well, it's a good question, and when we put to regional council a couple of weeks ago, and it got referred to the new Mr. Stanton, who is looking at Scanton, who's looking at governance issues. So you're quite right. There needs to be a balance. The conservation authorities, you may know, is a levying body. So it, as the board, can levy the region whatever amount it wants and has without any accountability for the cost side. So I think that the 50-50 option is something that the region should consider. The region makes the appointment. It can make it on the recommendation of a local council. It can make it on the recommendation of a particular council. So the notion that it is entirely civilian or entirely unelected is not appropriate, because that board, when Harris downloaded it, he downloaded the cost entirely to the municipalities. So you need some accountability on the cost side, and you need some appointments that are civilian. Like City of Thorold does it every term. They've come with a recommendation, and Mickey DeFrucia does a great job as a private citizen on the Conservation Authority.
Thanks, Bruce.
You're welcome.
Jim Bradley is next. Jim, what are your thoughts on amalgamating all of Niagara's current municipalities into one Niagara municipality?
First of all, I think that issue is a diversion from the real issues that are out there. When you don't want to talk about, the situation that exists at the region now, you talk about governance. That always gets the information elsewhere. I think there are people, particularly in the rural area, who want to have somebody who's close to them to make decisions in those municipalities. You always hear the whole idea of too many politicians. The fewer politicians you have, the more you're likely to get people who are elected who have the financial wherewithal to get elected or are so well known in the community. So you want to be able to have in the various municipalities people who are close to the people and not full-time politicians. And so I think What we have to ensure is that we do not have a situation where we're duplicating services, but we have clearly defined services between one level of government and another, and ensure that people have access to the local people. And that's exceedingly important
Thanks, Jim.
in a democracy.
Mike Britton. The current regional council has voted to condemn the blockade, divest, and sanction movement. BDS advocates ending apartheid in Israel-Palestine. Do you think it is appropriate for a regional government to censure BDS? Are you prepared to undo that condemnation of BDS?
All right. So I didn't think I'd be talking about federal politics while I'm running for region tonight, but I do want to address the idea when city and local...
I think that the idea here is that this was a regional vote, so therefore it's a regional issue.
Right. So when the region and the city, as a city councillor, do vote on issues that are not on our level of government, not on, for example, the municipality's level of jurisdiction, sometimes it can affect change. I know at the city level, we voted on a number of motions. We voted on trying to get Autism After 5 funding back after it was taken by the former government, and that decision was changed. Something else we did at the city council was we actually voted to lobby the federal government to ban asbestos imports into Canada. And again, that was something where we were supporting a large group, a labor group, in changing that level. And so we were adding our voice as a municipality to a federal issue. So I do think it can be appropriate at times for regional and city levels of government to add their voice to important issues that affect all of us here locally.
Thank you. I just chimed in there because I wanted everybody to be sure why we were talking about that kind of issue at a regional, talking about candidates at regional government. So that concludes the first round of questions. How many rounds can you stomach? All right. Okay, wait.
Are you leaving? The second, third period doesn't start for a while yet. No, I would if we were done.
So, what we're... Yeah, you know what? So we did change what I had on let's do that. So, shortly before we started the event, we thought we were going to do a second round of questions. I don't think we have enough time to fit that in before the 9 o'clock deadline. And some of the candidates have expressed that they do have other events to go to. So I think that we're going to shorten that part. What we will do, though, is I hope the candidates will stay for the next 20 minutes to half hour and give you a chance to meet them, to talk to them, to ask them questions. I think we are all out of runway here. Yeah, the group who put this together is the Committee for an Informed St. Catharines, and I don't know if members of that group can sort of self-identify and do some waving to, but they deserve a big round of applause because coordinating this kind of event takes a lot of effort. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have helped moderate this, such as it is. And thank you very much for your time tonight.